I'm shooting this video in my child's playpen, just hanging out with my baby. So if you have seen the very first video of my recall series, it is teaching your dog their name. It's important that your dog knows their name to have reliable recall. And so please go to the first video. If you have not seen that one, I talk about the theory of recall and what it really means when you're asking your dog to come to you when you make a certain sound. So you need to know your expectations you have for your dog. What does your recall look like? Do they need to come sit in front of you? Do they need to get into a heel? Are they going to like touch your hand? Are they going to target something? Or are you going to let them do a drive-by and keep going? Or are they just going to kind of look your way and then do their own thing? You know, so how to have a reliable recall. That's what we're working on. So watch the first video, then come back here. So first, your dog needs to know their name. In the first video, you can see this little pattern that I'm formulating where the dog is coming out and coming back to me, coming out and coming back to me in a very small space. We are indoors. We are in low distraction. There's not a lot going on. And that's how you should start training your dog. Your kids just like playing with the baby wipes. Is that like just the best toy ever? We're going to put the baby wipes over here. Your dog needs to know what you expect of them when you say their name. For me, name means eye contact. So my dog could be out away from me and I say their name and they can look my way. And I might tell them we're going to go this way, we're going to go this way, or I want you to come here, or I want you to stay, or I want you to sit and stay, or I want you to down stay. The point is to work on the 3 Ds: distance, distractions, and duration. So we're going to work through this very slowly. I'm kind of trying to cover all the things, like some of you might have good recall except when distracted. Some of you might not be able to call your dog to you from inside your own home. So we're going to work from the ground up, having a reliable recall no matter what. So first, your dog needs to know their name. Next, they need to know, what do you expect of them? So by doing that, I just start to condition the behavior, let the dog float out, and then they come back to me, and I show this to you in the house. Next, you're going to go out on an actual walk, or maybe you're just in your front yard, depending on your distractions. So for me, it's harder to teach you when there's just distraction going on, so, you know, it's going to work through it. It's real life, right? The 3 Ds: distance, distraction, and duration. We're going to work on the distance you are from your dog when you're commanding them. So at first, we are right next to our dog. We're only letting them go out a couple feet and bringing them back. By the end of the series, your dog could be way out across the field and be coming all the way to you. So that's distance. How close are you to your dog when you're commanding them? And then distractions, what's going on in the environment. And every dog's distractions are a little different. Knowing what distracts your dogs. You know, sometimes some dogs are like looking around for things, and some dogs got their nose on the ground. So your distractions are going to look different, and your training is going to be a little different. So everybody needs to modify this copy and paste that I'm teaching you to your dog and to your abilities and your dog's abilities. First, teach your dog the sequence. Your dog is out and they come back. Work on your finishing move. Practice the sit, stay in front of you. Practice your dog getting into a heel. If you want to teach your dog to like target your hand, do you want to incorporate a hand signal into your recall? You know, maybe you want to stick your arm up in the air. Maybe you want to point to the ground. I like to go here. And I snap and I point at the ground in my pack walks. Like Echo gets into a heel and my littles just come in my bubble next to me and walk with me. So just knowing what you want and then working towards that, and you're going to work backwards. So if recall looks like your dog is really far away from you, they drop what they're doing, and they come all the way to you, what is that finishing move that you want? That's what we're going to start training first. We're going to work backwards, and we're going to increase the distance that our dog is and work towards that long recall coming back and the high distractions and all that. So let's say you want to sit in front of you. So we're going to keep working on our dog floating out, coming, sitting. Use your words that you want to use the same words, and use the hand signal you want. So let's say it's come, here, sit, whatever it is, use the same thing. Everybody in your family, everybody that walks the dog, everybody that handles the dog should be using the same thing. If you have a partner and one is doing silent all the time and the other one's doing verbal, the dog might be better for one person than the other person. So I would play Simon Says with my dog and do both of them at the same time. And then do just the hand signals and then do just the verbal. So the dog must know independently what the hand signal is all by itself, so that you could say nothing, raise your hand, and the dog understands to come all the way back to you. That's when you know that the dog knows the hand signal or the verbal. In the beginning, you're doing them at the same time. Then you're doing one and testing, do them at the same time and do the other. And does the dog understand both equally? You can play Simon Says with your hand signals and your verbals to condition the dog what you want them to do. Great, so your dog knows their name and they know that when they hear their name that they should come back to you. That's a great start. So once you have that in your house and it's going really good, try it in different rooms. Dogs don't generalize things very well. So you can't teach your dog in the kitchen to come sit in front of you for a treat and expect that outside at the dog park your dog's going to come and sit in front of you for a treat. The treat might not be a good value at that point in time unless your dog is like highly motivated by whatever you're having. Food is great to teach your dog the behavior, and we're going to do a lot of food work, but that's not going to be the end result. Things we're working through are not going to be the exact end. So it's really hard to like jump sequences. You really need to work slowly all the way through this. Teach your dog their name, to come to their performance that you want. So let's go ahead and demonstrate. Echo here, we're going to demonstrate a distraction. So this is perfect. I'm just going to let her sniff. She's distracted. Echo, come. Good. Finishing move, sit. Good, sit. Break. So that's one finishing move. Your dog sits in front of you. A more advanced one that we're not going to cover right now would be a heel. If you guys are interested in learning to do something like that, let me know in the comments below. Something else you can do for a finishing move would be a touch command. So teaching your dog to touch your hand so they can target an object. You basically need something for your dog to do at the end of the recall. So if it's like, Echo, come, and it was like a touch command, all you do at first is just keep touching your dog in the nose, touching your dog in the nose, and giving them food until they lure it towards. Just like you're shaping recall, a little bit more distance, and the dog learns when I touch your hand, I get food. Touch, touch. So you can teach your dog to target something like that, or a pretty easy one is just teaching your dog to sit right in front of you. And so your dog needs to fully understand what the finishing move of your recall is. You know, for Carl, it's not, Carl has a hard time sitting in front of me because he doesn't like turning his back towards a distraction. So a thing you could do would be to teach your dog to recall between your legs. Echo doesn't know us, this is great, so we're going to go around. You can teach your dog to finish right here if you want your recall to look like that. So you just got to pick, what do you want your end recall to look like? So you could say something like, finish, and then keep giving your dog food for being there, and you'll make it cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. So if you want to learn a new finishing move for your recall, let me know in the comments what you want. But for now, we're just going to use a sit right in front of us, because that's, I feel like, what the general public does. So you're out walking around. You kind of let your dog float out in front of you, and you say, Echo, come, sit. Do you notice that I bent my knees and I backed up? That kind of is an enticing way to get your dog to come out. So I'm kind of just doing this repetitive movement of letting my dog float out in front of me, then I call them and I lure them back to me, and we do our finishing move. So if I were to go over here and let her sniff the trees and then recall her off of it, you can see what that looks like. To accomplish is a fast recall. We want our dog to understand that come is the act of running to me. And eventually I don't want to be running to get the dog to recall. But if your dog doesn't know that come means run to me, you can't say come and expect them to do it. You need to condition your dog is doing the act and then it's happening. So I'm going to pair the word over the behavior. So I'm going to get her to run to me. Come. So she understands that running at me is what come is. So when your dog doesn't know sit, you don't tell them to do it, you lure them into it using a leash and some food. Good sit. When your dog doesn't know the word of what you want, you have to condition the word. So it'd be come. Good come. Sit. Good sit. So the dog starts to pair that when their butt hits the ground, you're saying sit. So they're like, oh, that's what that is. Come. Sit. Break. Good girl. So you just kind of go for your normal walk. You're doing your thing. You let your dog get distracted. You know, they're sniffing. Maybe they go potty and they're doing their thing. And then you're like, oh, this is a good test. There's she's sniffing something. Echo, come. Yes! Sit. Good sit. So we're breaking it up into small little things. There's the Echo. She knows her name. She knows come. She knows sit. And we're putting it all together. So you need to condition your dog each of these little pieces and then put it all together. Because recall is quite a complex command. It's stop what you're doing, run to me, do your finishing move, and stay here until I say so. Because when your dog's off leash, you know, you might want to just say, come, sit, leash your dog up, because maybe it's time to leave. So maybe you don't say break. Maybe now we're just going for a walk together. And so I like to repeat that over and over and over again too. I don't want to call my dog to me and then always leash them and then leave whatever fun thing is. I don't want the dog to get associated that when the leash comes out, we're done. So something else I do is unleash and leash repeatedly so the dog doesn't think when the leash comes out, the fun stops. Some dogs have a problem with that. If you're at like a dog park or doing something and they see the leash, they start running away from you. You don't want that. So how I counter that is we put the leash on and we put the leash off. You notice that she does it with the hand movement. I actually don't really need to say anything. I could just go like this.